When the Poseidon adventure premiered in 1972, audiences around the world were swept into a terrifying nightmare at sea. But the tragedy on screen was only the beginning of heartbreaking stories in real life. Some actors died young while their careers were still rising, and others passed away suddenly right on set, leaving Hollywood in shock. What really happened to the cast? Join us as we uncover the untold stories, and you won't believe what they went through. Shelley Winters as Belle Rosen. At 52 years old, Shelley Winters became Belle Rosen, the kind-hearted woman who sacrificed herself to save others in the Poseidon adventure, 1972. The role not only earned her a Golden Globe, but also left audiences in tears at one of the most moving acts of heroism ever captured on film. Shelley Winters was born on August 18, 1920, in St. Louis, Missouri, to a Jewish immigrant family. Her father, Jonas Schrift, was a clothing designer, and her mother, Rose Winter, was an opera singer. When she was 9, the family moved to New York, where she had to adapt to poverty and cultural clashes. Loneliness and instability pushed Shelley toward the stage as an escape. From a teenage model, she threw herself into acting studies at the New School, influenced by the actor's studio method, where she learned to channel genuine emotion into her performances. She rose to fame with The Diary of Anne Frank, 1959, and A Patch of Blue, 1965, winning 2 Academy Awards. Yet her personal life was tumultuous. 4 failed marriages and scandalous affairs with stars like Marlon Brando made her a constant tabloid headline. To portray Belle Rosen, Shelley had to gain significant weight, and that heavy figure eventually became a real burden on her health. In her later years, she suffered recurring heart problems that led to her death on January 14, 2006, in Beverly Hills, at the age of 85. She was laid to rest at Hillside Memorial Park Cemetery in Culver City, California, leaving behind an estate of about $10 million and a film legacy spanning 7 decades. Gene Hackman as Reverend Frank Scott. Gene Hackman was 42 years old when he played Reverend Frank Scott, a young, idealistic minister who dared to challenge fate and lead a group of survivors through an upside-down ocean liner in the Poseidon adventure, 1972. The role made him an emblem of courage and faith in the face of despair, a stark contrast to the man he was in real life. Gene Hackman was born on January 30, 1930, in San Bernardino, California. His childhood was marked by instability and loneliness. His father abandoned the family when Gene was just 13, and his mother died in a fire caused by smoking in 1962. From then on, he carried the pain of abandonment and a hardened resilience that refused to break. At 16, he lied about his age to join the U.S. Marine Corps, serving in China, Hawaii, and Japan. After leaving the service, he studied journalism before turning to acting, despite being mocked as someone who didn't have the look. But that determination carried him from small theater stages to Hollywood stardom, where he shone in The French Connection, 1971, and Unforgiven, 1992, earning 2 Academy Awards. From the 1990s onward, Hackman faced a series of health crises: heart surgery, a serious bicycle accident in 2012, and eventually Alzheimer's disease, which slowly pulled him away from public life. He retired in 2004 and lived quietly in Santa Fe with his wife, Betsy Arakawa, and their dogs. On February 12, 2025, his wife died suddenly from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, and Hackman, lost in the fog of Alzheimer's, failed to recognize what had happened. He died only 6 days later from heart disease and kidney failure at the age of 95. Their bodies were discovered more than a week later, leaving the public stunned. He left behind a monumental artistic legacy: 2 Oscars, 3 Golden Globes, and an estimated fortune of $80 million. Ernest Borgnine as Mike Rogo. Ernest Borgnine was 55 years old when he played Mike Rogo, a tough, hot-tempered police officer with a kind heart. in The Poseidon Adventure, 1972. His character and his on-screen wife, Linda, formed one of the film's most beloved couples, symbolizing strength and loyalty amid disaster. The role deeply moved audiences, and in many ways, reflected who he truly was. Ernest Borgnine was born on January 24, 1917, in Hamden, Connecticut, into a poor Italian immigrant family. His parents divorced when he was only 2, and he spent more than 4 years living in Italy with his mother before returning to the United States. A childhood marked by separation and loneliness made Ernest resilient and disciplined at an early age. After finishing high school, he enlisted in the U.S. Navy, serving for 10 years, including during World War II. When he was discharged, unable to find steady work, he followed his mother's advice and studied acting. From small roles on Broadway, Borgnine rose to fame with Marty, 1955, a performance that earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor, and later The Wild Bunch, 1969, which solidified his image as the embodiment of the authentic American man. But his private life was far from peaceful. 5 marriages, including a union that lasted only 42 days with actress Ethel Merman, which he once described as 2 bombs in the same room. A heavy smoker until 1962, Borgnine's health gradually declined over the years, particularly his kidneys. Ernest Borgnine died on July 8, 2012, in Los Angeles at the age of 95 due to kidney failure following surgery. He was cremated, and a military-style funeral was held in his honor. Before his passing, he was still voicing Mermaid Man in SpongeBob SquarePants and appeared in the TV series ER at age 92. His estate was valued at approximately $15 million. Stella Stevens as Linda Rogo. At only 34 years old, Stella Stevens played Linda Rogo, the seductive, passionate yet compassionate wife of police officer Mike Rogo, in The Poseidon Adventure, 1972. Her chemistry with Ernest Borgnine brought a perfect balance of tension and tenderness to the film. Stella Stevens, born Estelle Caro Eggleston on October 1, 1938 in Yazoo City, Mississippi, was an only child in a middle-class family. Her father worked in insurance. Her mother was a nurse. But her youth was scarred by pain. She married at 16, gave birth to her son Andrew Stevens, and divorced just 2 years later, beginning a bitter custody battle. She later left her son in her parents' care to pursue her dream of acting. While studying at Memphis State University, Stella drew attention for her performance in Bus Stop, opening the door to a vibrant artistic career. From Playboy model to movie star, Stella quickly signed with 20th Century Fox and became famous through Girls, 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 1962, with Elvis Presley, and The Nutty Professor, 1963, with Jerry Lewis. Her sensual beauty and subtle acting made her one of the screen icons of the 1960s. Yet her personal life was far from easy. Failed relationships, professional pressure, and loneliness in old age took a toll on her health. In her later years, Stella Stevens battled Alzheimer's disease. She passed away on February 17, 2023 in Los Angeles at the age of 84. Her Beverly Hills home was sold to cover medical expenses. At her death, she left behind an estimated fortune of $10 million and a dazzling, bittersweet legacy in film history. Red Buttons as James Martin. In 1972, Red Buttons was 53 years old when he took on the role of James Martin in The Poseidon Adventure, a shy but kind-hearted man who represented quiet courage amid disaster. His performance gave audiences the image of a silent hero, mirroring his own character off-screen. Red Buttons, born Aaron Chwat on February 5, 1919 in Manhattan, New York, came from a poor Jewish family of Russian-Polish descent. His immigrant parents dreamed of a better life in America, but poverty forced him to work as a bellhop in a tavern at just 16. With his bright red hair and uniform adorned with large, shiny buttons, he earned the nickname Red Buttons, a name that stayed with him for life. Without formal education, he honed his craft on the stages of vaudeville, burlesque, and the Borscht Belt comedy circuit. After World War II, Red Buttons appeared on Broadway in 1941 and later became a Hollywood star with Sayonara, 1957, where his role as Joe Kelly earned him both the Academy Award and Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor. But behind the spotlight were 3 failed marriages and long years of solitude. Red Buttons passed away on July 13, 2006 in Los Angeles from cardiovascular disease at the age of 87. His ashes were kept by his family after cremation. He left behind an estimated $5 million estate, modest compared to his fame, yet enough to honor a lifetime devoted to genuine artistry. Leslie Nielsen as Captain Harrison. Leslie Nielsen was 41 years old when he played Captain Harrison, the calm, responsible ship captain who was swept into tragedy when the vessel capsized in the middle of the ocean in the Poseidon adventure, 1972. His portrayal of a man bearing the lives of hundreds on his shoulders moved audiences deeply. Leslie Nielsen was born on February 11, 1926, in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, to a family of Danish and Welsh descent. His childhood was marked by fear. His father, a strict and violent officer in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, frequently beat his wife and children. Born partially deaf, young Leslie grew up in silence and fear, but it also made him an acute observer of human behavior. At 17, he enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force during World War II, hoping to escape his home life, but was rejected from combat due to his hearing impairment. After the war, he worked as a DJ in Calgary before earning a scholarship to study acting in New York at the Neighborhood Playhouse and the Actors Studio. His breakthrough came when he shifted from dramatic roles to comedy with Airplane, 1980, playing Dr. Rumack with a deadpan seriousness that made him a legend of spoof comedy. He went on to shine in the Naked Gun series, earning the nickname the Laurence Olivier of comedy. However, in his later years, Nielsen suffered from painful arthritis and declining lung health. Leslie Nielsen passed away on November 28, 2010 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, due to pneumonia at the age of 84. He left behind an estimated $20 million fortune and one of the most unique artistic legacies in Hollywood history, Jack Albertson as Manny Rosen. At 65 years old, Jack Albertson took on the role of Manny Rosen in the Poseidon adventure, 1972. A devoted husband willing to risk his life to save his wife in the midst of a watery grave. His performance brought tears to audiences, reflecting the same gentle, enduring spirit that defined Albertson himself. Jack Albertson was born on June 16, 1907, in Malden, Massachusetts, to a Russian Jewish family. His father abandoned the family before Jack was born, leaving his mother, a stage actress and shoe factory worker, to raise 2 children in poverty. Expelled from school for mischief, he dropped out of high school and survived by working odd jobs, from factory laborer to pool hustler. During those rough years, he learned tap dancing from his sister, actress Mabel Albertson, and began performing in vaudeville at 18. Albertson's rise was slow but steady. He sang with a group called the Golden Rule 4, performed on Broadway, and finally achieved stardom with The Subject Was Roses, 1968, a role that earned him both a Tony and an Oscar. In 1971, he captured hearts as Grandpa Joe in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Yet behind that warm smile, Albertson was privately battling colorectal cancer, diagnosed in 1978, a struggle he kept secret so he could continue working. Jack Albertson passed away on November 25, 1981 in Los Angeles at the age of 74, after a 3-year silent fight with cancer. He received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1977 and left behind an estimated $5 million fortune. Roddy McDowall as Akers. Roddy McDowall was 44 years old when he played Akers, the loyal and resourceful steward in the Poseidon adventure, 1972. Though not a leading role, McDowall brought rare depth to the character, embodying quiet dedication and courage amid catastrophe. It was a truthful reflection of the man himself. Roddy McDowall was born on September 17, 1928, in Herne Hill, London, into a family that loved the arts. His father was a merchant seaman, and his mother a stage actress. When World War II broke out, 11-year-old Roddy fled to the United States with his mother and sister, while his father remained stranded in Europe. The separation, fear of bombings, and sense of exile left deep emotional scars, shaping him into a sensitive and solitary soul. He began acting in films in England in 1938 and soon found fame in America with How Green Was My Valley, 1941. But adulthood brought its own pain. A secret romantic relationship with actor Montgomery Clift ended tragically, and in 1974, an FBI raid on his home, allegedly over sensitive photographs of celebrities, left him deeply shaken. Even so, McDowall endured, proving himself a remarkably versatile performer with over 270 screen credits. He became a legend with Planet of the Apes, 1968, portraying Cornelius, one of the most iconic characters in cinema history, and earned both Tony and Emmy Awards for his stage and television work. In April 1998, Roddy McDowall was diagnosed with lung cancer. He passed away on October 3rd of the same year at his home in Studio City, California, at the age of 70. His body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered over the Pacific Ocean, as he had wished. He left behind an estimated fortune of $18 million and a vast artistic legacy. Arthur O'Connell as Chaplain John. At 64 years old, Arthur O'Connell appeared in The Poseidon Adventure, 1972, as Chaplain John, a gentle clergyman bringing faith and hope to lost souls amid disaster. Though it was a supporting role, his sincerity and humanity left a lasting impression, much like the life he lived. Arthur O'Connell was born on March 29, 1908, in Manhattan, New York, to an Irish Catholic family. His childhood was filled with loss. His father died when he was 2, and his mother passed away when he was 12, forcing the 4 siblings to live apart with different relatives. Deprived of affection and direction, Arthur grew up in solitude, taking on odd jobs, from technician at New York Edison to street vendor, just to survive. Yet within him, a quiet fire for art never went out. In 1929, he began acting on stage, but his career was interrupted when he developed encephalitis, which left him unable to work for several years. When he returned, O'Connell gained attention for his performance as Howard Bevins in Picnic, 1955, and as lawyer Parnell McCarthy in Anatomy of a Murder, 1959, both of which earned him Academy Award nominations for Best Supporting Actor. But fate's kindness was brief. In his final years, he suffered from Alzheimer's disease, with severe memory loss that forced him to withdraw from the stage he had loved for more than half a century. Arthur O'Connell passed away on May 18, 1981, in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles, at the age of 73. He died quietly, with no wife or children, leaving behind a modest $3 million estate and a career rich in depth and humanity. Bob Hastings as MC. When Bob Hastings appeared in The Poseidon Adventure, 1972, he was 47 years old and played the MC, the cheerful master of ceremonies, who briefly appears during the ship's fateful party before it capsizes. Though a minor role, his presence added warmth and charm, qualities that had defined his career for more than half a century. Bob Hastings was born on April 18, 1925, in Brooklyn, New York. His father was a salesman, and his mother a homemaker. A simple yet loving family life nurtured his optimism and sense of humor. From a young age, Bob showed artistic talent, performing in radio programs such as National Barn Dance and The Sea Hound. After serving in World War II, he returned to entertainment as a radio actor and voice performer, paving the way for a long and steady career in television and film. Hastings became widely known for his role as Lieutenant Elroy Carpenter in McHale's Navy, 1962 to 1966. The bumbling yet endearing officer, and later for voicing Commissioner Gordon in Batman, the animated series, 1992 to 1995. Despite his success, his later years were marked by a battle with prostate cancer. Yet he remained upbeat, regularly attending fan conventions to meet admirers who cherished his work. He passed away on June 30, 2014, in Burbank, California, at the age of 89. His funeral was held at St. Finbar Catholic Church. With an estimated net worth of $5 million, Bob Hastings left behind not just a long career, but a lasting impression. A warm voice and kind smile forever remembered by fans who grew up listening to him. Carol Lynley as Nonnie Perry. At 30 years old, Carol Lynley played Nonnie Perry, a fragile young singer who finds unexpected strength amid chaos in the Poseidon adventure, 1972. Her character's vulnerability and courage moved audiences deeply, mirroring the turbulent journey of Lynley's own life. Carol Lynley was born on February 13, 1942, in New York City into a poor family. Her parents divorced when she was young, and her mother worked as a waitress to support her. At 14, Carol began modeling to help with expenses and caught national attention with her angelic face on the cover of Life magazine. By 15, she was on Broadway, winning the Theatre World Award for her debut performance. A prodigy from the start, Lynley quickly became one of Hollywood's most alluring symbols of femininity during the 1960s. She shone in Blue Denim, 1959, and Bunny Lake is Missing, 1965, earning the nickname the Melancholy Muse of American cinema. Yet fame faded quickly when she rejected commercial roles to preserve her artistic integrity. After the Poseidon adventure, she retreated from major productions, living a quiet and humble life away from the spotlight. Carol Lynley died suddenly on September 3, 2019, in Pacific Palisades, California, from a heart attack at the age of 77. Her ashes were scattered over the California coast, the place she called her second home. With an estimated net worth of $10 million and a career spanning more than 6 decades, Carol Lynley remains a luminous star in the memory of audiences around the world. Fred Sadoff as Lynarchos. At 46 years old, Fred Sadoff portrayed Lynarchos in The Poseidon Adventure, 1972, the cold-hearted company representative who pressured the captain to sail despite dangerous weather conditions. His character embodied greed and human recklessness, standing in stark contrast to Sadoff's sincere and compassionate nature off-screen. Fred Sadoff was born on October 21, 1926 in California, into a poor Russian-Jewish immigrant family. His father, Henry Sadoff, and mother, Bertha Lieb, worked tirelessly to make ends meet in a foreign land. As a teenager, Fred fell in love with the stage, performing in local theater groups before reaching Broadway with South Pacific, 1949. As one of the founding members of the Actors Studio, he became a respected actor, director, and producer, collaborating with the legendary Michael Redgrave in England. Sadoff also achieved a rare milestone, becoming the first American invited to serve as assistant director at the Shakespeare Memorial Theater in Stratford-upon-Avon. Upon returning to the U.S., Sadoff enjoyed success in both film and television, appearing in Papillon, 1973, Cinderella Liberty, 1973, and numerous series including Quincy, M.E., Barney Miller, and The Rockford Files. Yet behind the accolades, he lived a quiet, solitary life. Never married, Fred devoted himself entirely to his craft and to mentoring younger actors. In his final years, he battled AIDS, but he kept it private, continuing to work until his body could no longer keep up. Fred Sadoff passed away on May 6, 1994, at his home in Los Angeles at the age of 67. He was cremated, and his ashes were kept by close friends. With a modest estate of about $1 million, he lived and died true to his nature. His artistic legacy continues to be honored by those who value sincerity over fame. Pamela Sue Martin as Susan Shelby. At just 19 years old, Pamela Sue Martin played Susan Shelby in The Poseidon Adventure, 1972. A smart, brave, yet deeply vulnerable young woman caught in a devastating shipwreck. It was her first film role and marked the beginning of a dazzling career for a new face full of promise during Hollywood's golden age. Pamela Sue Martin was born on January 5, 1953, in Hartford, Connecticut. She grew up in a middle-class family and, while not burdened by tragedy, learned independence early. At 17, she began modeling to support herself and quickly attracted attention for her elegant, classic beauty. When she heard that Columbia Pictures was casting for To Find a Man, 1972, she auditioned despite having no formal acting training, and won the role. Her performance caught the eye of producer Irwin Allen, who soon cast her as Susan in The Poseidon Adventure. The film's success made Pamela one of Hollywood's most sought-after young stars. She later became famous for playing teen detective Nancy Drew in The Hardy Boys / Nancy Drew Mysteries, 1977 to 1979, and the glamorous Fallon Carrington in Dynasty, 1981 to 1984, a role that earned her the 1984 Bambi Award. But behind the spotlight, Pamela faced personal turmoil. 4 failed marriages and a long struggle with interstitial cystitis forced her to step away from Hollywood. After 2000, she retired from acting, moved to Idaho, became the artistic director of the Interplanetary Theater Group, and dedicated her life to environmental activism. Today, Pamela Sue Martin is 72 years old. She occasionally attends fan conventions and lives a peaceful life with her son. With an estimated net worth of $4 million, her journey, from a teenage model flipping hamburgers to an 80s television icon, stands as a testament to resilience and self-reinvention, both on-screen and off. Eric Shea as Robin Shelby. When The Poseidon Adventure premiered in 1972, Eric Shea was just 12 years old, playing Robin Shelby, a curious, intelligent boy whose bravery played a key role in the survivor's journey. The role made him one of the most memorable child actors of the 1970s Hollywood. Eric Shea was born on February 14, 1960, in Los Angeles, California, into a show business family. His parents both worked in entertainment, while his brothers Christopher and Stephen Shea were the voices of Linus Van Pelt in the Peanuts animated series. Growing up surrounded by creativity, Eric's acting talent emerged early. He began working in film at age 6. Before The Poseidon Adventure, he appeared in Yours, Mine and Ours, 1968, alongside Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda, later followed by The Castaway Cowboy, 1974, with James Garner and Smile, 1975. Though considered the most gifted of the Shea siblings, Eric chose to leave Hollywood as he reached adulthood. Tired of fame and pressure, he pursued a quiet life, studying electrical work and eventually becoming an electrical engineer in Los Angeles. He rarely appeared in public but was remembered by colleagues as someone who appreciated his past but refused to be defined by it. Today, Eric Shea is 65 years old, still living in the Los Angeles area and working in the electrical trade. With an estimated net worth of $1 million, he leads a modest, peaceful life far from the spotlight. The once bright-eyed boy from The Poseidon Adventure has grown into a quiet man who has found contentment beyond fame. The heroes aboard the Poseidon left behind unforgettable legacies. But even amid loss and tragedy, their stories live on in the hearts of fans around the world. Who among the legendary cast do you remember most? Whose story touched you the deepest? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold, emotional stories behind Hollywood's greatest legends.